The Galactic Concord observation post floated silently at the edge of explored space. Commander Ta sat at the main control panel, his four purple eyes blinking in sequence as he adjusted the sensors. The quiet beep of an alert caught his attention. "That's strange," he muttered, focusing the powerful scanners on an unexpected energy signature. The readings made no sense at first. They suggested advanced technology from an unmapped sector. Commander Ta's fingers flew across the controls, refining the scan. His outer eyes widened first, followed by his inner pair. He pressed the communication button with urgency. "Council members, I have detected something unusual. There appears to be a technologically advanced species in the Orion sector. They have developed completely isolated from our influence." The council chamber erupted in discussion. 17 different species debated what this discovery meant. The Galactic Concord had stood for peace and cooperation for nearly 2,000 years. Finding a new spacefaring race was rare and potentially dangerous. "We must make contact immediately," decided Elder Prin, the oldest council member. "Prepare the harmonious dialogue for a diplomatic mission." 2 weeks later, the gleaming diplomatic vessel entered Earth's solar system. Captain Jin stood on the bridge, watching the approaching human defense ships with professional interest. "Their designs are unusual," he noted to Science Officer Mun. "Look at all those weapon ports. They build ships ready for war, not peace." The human vessels escorted them to Earth orbit. The Harmonious Dialogue's crew marveled at the blue planet below. Communications established a meeting on the human warship Stalwart. Admiral Kim greeted the alien delegation in the Stalwart's meeting room. He stood tall in his crisp uniform, flanked by officers who watched the aliens with careful eyes. "Welcome to Earth," Admiral Kim said, bowing slightly. "We are honored by your visit." Ambassador Lore moved forward, her translucent tentacles rippling with subtle patterns that expressed her emotions. Her universal translator converted her musical language to human speech. "We bring greetings from the Galactic Concord, a union of 17 peaceful civilizations." Her gaze moved around the room, noting the thick walls and multiple weapon control stations. "Your vessel seems excessively prepared for combat." Admiral Kim smiled. "This is the HFY Stalwart, one of our standard destroyers. It's actually one of our smaller military vessels." The aliens exchanged concerned glances. Their own ships emphasized beauty, comfort, and scientific equipment. Weapons were minimal, an afterthought in a galaxy where war had become rare. "May I ask why your diplomatic vessel carries so many weapons?" Ambassador Lore asked. "Standard defensive configuration," Admiral Kim replied with a small shrug. "This is actually one of our lighter patrol vessels. We've lived in isolation and needed to be prepared for any first contact scenario." The tour continued through the ship. The aliens noted the thick armor, the redundant systems, and the large crew. Human warships were designed to take damage and keep fighting, a concept foreign to Concord vessels. The meeting was proceeding well until a communication error occurred. The Stalwart's universal translator mistook a friendly greeting for a threat warning. Automatic alerts sounded. 3 Concord escort ships, detecting the alert, moved protectively toward the Harmonious Dialogue. Their weapon systems powered up as a precaution. The Stalwart responded with frightening speed. Hidden defense systems emerged from concealed compartments. Point defense turrets tracked the Concord ships with perfect precision. Rail guns extended from the hull, and missile tubes opened along the sides. "Weapons locked," reported the tactical officer, "ready to fire." Admiral Kim raised his hand. "Hold fire unless I command it." The Concord ships continued their approach, unaware of the danger. Their shields were designed to protect against space debris and radiation, not military weapons. "They're not responding to warnings," the communications officer said. Admiral Kim made his decision. "Disable them. Targeted strikes only." The Stalwart fired. Kinetic projectiles launched at incredible speeds, precisely targeting the propulsion systems of the alien vessels. The rounds passed through the Concord shields as if they weren't there. In just 18 seconds, all 3 Concorde corvettes drifted powerless in space. No crew were harmed, but the ships could no longer move or fight. The alien delegation on the Stalwart stood in shocked silence. Their most advanced military vessels had been disabled effortlessly by what humans considered a medium-sized warship. Admiral Kim turned to Ambassador Lore. "We apologize for the confusion and for damaging your vessels. Our engineers stand ready to assist with repairs." "How did you?" Ambassador Lore couldn't finish her question. "Our shields should have stopped your weapons." "Kinetic penetrators," Admiral Kim explained. "Energy shields don't stop physical objects moving fast enough. We learned that centuries ago in our own wars." The words "own wars" hung in the air. The Concorde species had evolved beyond internal conflicts thousands of years ago. Humans had been fighting each other until very recently. The diplomatic meeting ended quickly after that. The Concorde delegation returned to their ship, their engineers working with human teams to repair the disabled escort vessels. As the harmonious dialogue left Earth orbit, Captain Jin recorded his final observations. "These humans have developed in complete isolation from the civilizing influence of the Concorde. Their warships reflect a history of conflict we can barely imagine. They build for war even in times of peace. Their defensive systems bypass our most advanced technologies." He paused, considering his final words carefully. "The humans are not malicious, but they are dangerous. They see the galaxy as a place of potential threats. Their ships are designed to fight and survive against impossible odds. Whatever happens next, the Galactic Concorde must understand that humanity's approach to warfare is unlike anything we have encountered before. Their warships are not just vessels. They are the physical manifestation of a species that has survived by always being ready for the worst." The Xylar Dominion stood apart from the peaceful Galactic Concorde. Their warships patrolled the borders between their territories, held back only by careful diplomacy and mutual agreements. Supreme Commander Kraz, leader of the Xylar military forces, had grown frustrated with containment. News of the newly discovered human species reached Xylar space 6 weeks after first contact. Kraz immediately called his war council to the command chamber of the massive dreadnought Inevitable Victory *. The chamber was dark, lit only by the glow of tactical displays showing Earth's solar system. Kraz's scaled skin reflected the blue light as he addressed his generals. "Our scouts have confirmed the reports," Kraz said, his voice deep and certain. "These humans possess valuable resources and significant technological development. Most importantly, they have no formal protection from the Concorde yet." General Mox, the oldest of the council members, raised a clawed hand. "The initial reports suggest their military capabilities are substantial." "Exaggerated," Kraz dismissed with a wave. "The Concorde fears any species with actual fighting spirit. These primitives control just one star system. Their technology is clearly behind ours." Kraz expanded the tactical display, highlighting Earth's orbital defenses and patrol patterns. "These primitives control valuable resources and lack Concorde protection," he declared to his war council. "We will subjugate them swiftly." The council approved the invasion plan unanimously. Within days, 47 Xylar warships gathered at the fleet staging area. Their hulls gleamed with energy weapons and shield generators far more advanced than human technology. The Xylar battle fleet entered human space with confidence, expecting an easy victory. Their sensors detected only 12 human vessels moving to intercept, a mix of destroyers, cruisers, and a single larger ship that appeared to be the flagship. On the bridge of the HFY Relentless, Admiral Park watched the approaching enemy fleet with calm eyes. She had expected this. The intelligence briefings from the Concorde had warned that several aggressive species might see humanity as an easy target. "They outnumber us nearly 4-1, her tactical officer reported. Admiral Park nodded. "Numbers alone don't win battles. All ships implement defense pattern thunderstorm. Maintain discipline, and remember your training." The human vessels moved into an unusual formation. The Xylar commanders were puzzled. The humans were deliberately spreading their forces thin, creating obvious weak points in their defense. They know nothing of proper tactics, Supreme Commander Kraz laughed. Target their command vessel first. Once it falls, the rest will surrender. The Xylar ships fired their main weapons. Streams of energy crossed space toward the human cruisers. To the Xylar's surprise, several human ships appeared to lower their shields just before impact. They're surrendering already, a Xylar officer exclaimed. Kraz leaned forward. Something isn't right. The energy weapons struck the human ships and did far less damage than expected. Beneath the shields was layer upon layer of advanced armor that absorbed and dispersed the energy. While the Xylar paused in confusion, the human fleet counterattacked. They fired not energy weapons, but physical projectiles moving at incredible speeds. These kinetic weapons passed straight through the Xylar shields, designed to stop energy attacks, but nearly useless against solid objects. Impossible, Kraz shouted as reports of damage flooded in. Adjust shield frequencies. Return fire. The battle grew chaotic. The Xylar tried to adapt, but human tactics made no sense to them. Damaged human ships should have retreated or been destroyed. Instead, they continued fighting even with significant sections exposed to space. Backup systems engaged automatically. Crews sealed in survival compartments continued operating weapons. Their ship is cut in half and still firing. A Xylar commander reported in disbelief. How is this possible? The most shocking moment came 3 hours into the battle. Several smaller human vessels maneuvered close to the Xylar flagship. Instead of firing weapons, they launched what appeared to be small transport craft. What are they doing? Kraz demanded. Scan those objects. They appear to be boarding craft, his officer replied in confusion. They contain life forms. The Xylar had abandoned personal combat centuries ago. Their ships had minimal internal defenses, relying on their superior shields to keep enemies at a distance. No species had attempted boarding actions in living memory. The human boarding craft attached to the Xylar flagship's hull. Cutting beams sliced through the metal skin of the massive vessel. Alarms blared throughout the ship as atmosphere vented into space. Internal breach in sections 7 through 12. An officer shouted. Unknown entities have entered the ship. Security camera feeds showed the invaders, humans in powered armor suits, carrying weapons designed for close-quarters combat. They moved with practiced efficiency, disabling systems and neutralizing the few Xylar who attempted to stop them. On the bridge, Kraz received increasingly desperate reports. The human boarders were advancing rapidly toward command sections. 3 other Xylar ships reported similar boarding actions. This cannot be happening, he said, his confidence finally broken. Prepare tow. The bridge doors slid open. Human soldiers in massive armored suits entered, weapons ready but not firing. Behind them walked a human female in a command uniform. Admiral Park surveyed the Xylar bridge calmly, then approached Supreme Commander Kraz. Your fleet is defeated, she stated simply. 17 of your vessels have been destroyed. 29 are disabled and under our control. Only 1 managed to escape. I suggest you surrender. Kraz looked at the tactical displays confirming her words. In just under 4 hours, his invasion force had been decimated. Impossible, he gasped as Admiral Park personally accepted his surrender on his own bridge. Your technology isn't advanced enough for this victory. Admiral Park's expression remained neutral. Technology isn't everything, she replied. Preparation, redundancy, and never accepting defeat, these are human advantages. News of the battle spread across inhabited space with remarkable speed. The Galactic Concord called emergency sessions to discuss the implications. Species that had dismissed humans as primitive newcomers now sent urgent diplomatic missions to Earth. Human losses were minimal. 2 ships damaged beyond repair, but with most crews successfully evacuated thanks to escape pods and emergency protocols. In one decisive battle, the galactic balance of power had shifted. Humanity had announced its presence not through words, but through the undeniable language of military capability. Their warships, designed through centuries of conflict against themselves, had proven superior to a species thousands of years more advanced. The message was clear to all watching civilizations. Humanity was not to be underestimated. Captain Han walked back and forth on the command deck of HFY Dauntless. The massive human dreadnought floated in space alongside ships from 7 different alien species. This joint exercise was the first time humans had trained with their new Concord allies. Status report, Captain Han ordered, stopping at the main view screen. Lieutenant Song looked up from her console. All systems normal, Captain. The Concord vessels are in position for the next exercise. Captain Han nodded and studied the alien ships visible through the view screen. They were beautiful, sleek, and elegant, with smooth lines and glowing energy patterns across their hulls. Compared to them, the Dauntless looked rough and threatening, its surface covered with weapon turrets, armor plates, and sensor arrays. Their ships are beautiful, Lieutenant Song remarked, admiring the alien vessels. Makes ours look like sledgehammers. Captain Han frowned slightly. Beauty doesn't win battles, Lieutenant. Look at their flagship, the Serene Harmony. Do you know how many crew members it has? No, sir. 12. 12. Captain Han shook his head in disbelief. We have 2,000 personnel aboard Dauntless. Their ships rely on AI for nearly everything, while we have human oversight for critical systems. The command deck doors slid open, and Chief Engineer Lee entered. Her uniform was stained with grease, and she was wiping her hands on a cloth. She had just returned from showing the Concord engineers around the Dauntless's engine rooms. How did the tour go? Captain Han asked. Chief Engineer Lee laughed. They were shocked, sir. Just finished showing their engineers our backup systems. They couldn't believe we have quintuple redundancy for life support. Called it inefficient design. What did you tell them? Lieutenant Song asked. I explained that we value crew survival above all else, Lee replied. They just didn't understand. Their ships have one system for each function, with minimal backups. If something breaks, they abandon ship. Captain Han looked out at the stars. They've never had their homeworld bombed, he said quietly. Never fought century-long wars against their own kind. We build ships assuming the worst will happen, because for us, it always has. The 3 officers fell silent, each thinking about Earth's violent history. Humans had fought countless wars against each other before finally uniting. Those centuries of conflict had shaped how they built their ships. The reception starts in 1 hour, Lieutenant Song reminded them. The Concord admirals will be coming aboard. Later that evening, the main dining hall of the Dauntless was filled with officers from all species. Humans mingled with aliens, sharing stories and learning about each other's cultures. Captain Han moved from group to group, playing host to their visitors. Your vessel is most impressive, Captain, said Admiral Vel, a tall, thin alien with pale blue skin. Though I must admit, its design philosophy confuses me. How so? Captain Han asked. Admiral Vel gestured around them. So much redundancy. So many crew members. On our worlds, we design for efficiency above all else. Different priorities, Captain Han explained. You value efficiency. We value survival. But surely with advanced enough technology, both are possible, Admiral Vel suggested. Before Captain Han could answer, a loud alarm began blaring throughout the ship. Red warning lights flashed in the ceiling. Alert! Reactor anomaly detected. Containment breach possible, announced the ship's eye. The alien guests froze in fear. A reactor breach would mean disaster. Captain Han touched his communication device. Bridge, report. Sabotage detected in Reactor Section 3, Captain, came the immediate response. Security teams are responding. Switching to backup power systems. The lights flickered briefly, then stabilized. The alarms continued, but the message changed. Primary reactor offline. Secondary power systems engage. Situation contained. Captain Han turned to face the stunned alien officers. Please remain calm. There is no danger. Admiral Vel's eyes were wide. But, your main reactor, how are we still functioning? We have 5 separate power systems, Captain Han explained calmly. The main reactor is offline, but our backup systems engaged automatically. The ship is perfectly safe. Security officers arrived at the dining hall, surrounding a small group of aliens from one of the minor Concord species. They had been caught trying to sabotage the Dauntless's reactor. They believed taking out our main power would cripple the ship, the security chief explained. They don't understand human design philosophy. After the saboteurs were taken away, the reception continued. The mood was tense at first, but gradually returned to normal. The Dauntless continued functioning perfectly on its backup systems. Later, Captain Han gave the Concord officers a special tour of the damage control center. He showed them how the ship could continue operating even with major sections destroyed or exposed to space. Each section can seal itself off, he explained. Each has its own life support, power, and communication systems. If the bridge is destroyed, command transfers automatically to secondary control. If that's lost, we have tertiary command, and so on. Admiral Vel shook his head in amazement. But the cost must be enormous. The inefficiency. We don't measure efficiency in resources, Captain Han replied. We measure it in lives saved. He led them to a memorial wall, where the names of ships and crews lost in Earth's many wars were displayed. This is why we design the way we do, Captain Han explained to the stunned Concord officers. Your ships are marvels of efficiency. Ours are built to survive. The aliens studied the thousands of names on the wall, finally beginning to understand. You designed your ships this way because of your past, Admiral Vel said slowly. Captain Han nodded. Every feature on this ship exists because something went wrong once. Every backup system represents a lesson learned the hard way. We don't just build ships. We build monuments to those who taught us these lessons with their lives. As they left the memorial, the ship's systems announced that the main reactor had been repaired and was back online. That was quick, Admiral Vel remarked. We have repair crews trained to work under any conditions, Captain Han said with pride. Another lesson from our history. The joint exercises continued the next day. The alien officers watched the Dauntless with new respect, finally understanding that beneath its rough exterior was a design philosophy born from humanity's difficult past, and perhaps the key to survival in an uncertain future. The Grand Council chamber of the Galactic Concord buzzed with angry voices. Ambassador Moon stood at the central podium, her face calm despite the chaos around her. Representatives from 17 alien species argued loudly, their translators struggling to keep up with the heated debate. Order. We must have order, called the council elder, striking his staff against the floor. Ambassador Moon waited for the noise to settle. For 3 years, humanity had been part of the Concord, sharing technology and joining defense pacts. But now, everything was falling apart. 7 species had moved their seats to one side of the chamber. Their spokesman, a tall being with crystalline skin, stepped forward. The Concord has stood for peace for 2,000 years, he declared, until the humans arrived. Their warships patrol our borders. Their military doctrines spread through our cultures. They are a disease infecting our peaceful society. Ambassador Moon kept her voice steady as she replied. Humanity has honored all treaties. We have shared technologies freely. Our ships protect trade routes that benefit all species. Your very existence threatens us. The crystal being countered. Your warships threaten the balance we've maintained for millennia. Humans must be contained. With those words, the 7 species formally declared themselves the Coalition of Independent Systems. They walked out of the council chamber together, ignoring Ambassador Moon's pleas for further discussion. 3 days later, without any formal declaration of war, coalition forces attacked. They struck simultaneously at human outposts and Concord facilities across 3 sectors of space. Millions died in the first hours. In the Orient sector, Admiral June received urgent messages from command. The Coalition was sending a massive fleet to seize control of the Orion wormhole, the only evacuation route for 20 billion civilians on colonies that lay beyond it. Admiral June stood on the bridge of the HFY Thermopylae, the newest and largest human warship ever built. Around him, crew members prepared for battle. The massive ship was nearly twice the size of any human vessel seen before. Its hull contained weapons systems that had been theoretical just years earlier. "Status report," Admiral June ordered. "Coalition fleet approaching, sir. Sensors detect 137 warships. We have 43 vessels ready for combat." Admiral June studied the tactical display. They were outnumbered 3-1, but the wormhole had to be defended. He opened a channel to all human and allied Concord ships. "All vessels, this is Admiral June aboard the Thermopylae. We hold this line, or 20 billion civilians on the other side lose their only evacuation route. Remember your training. Remember why we fight." The super dreadnought Thermopylae moved to the center of the defense formation, its massive hull dwarfing even the largest Concord allies. Coalition commanders, seeing the enormous human vessel, paused to discuss this unexpected development. "What is that thing?" asked Coalition Commander Trell, looking at sensor readings of the Thermopylae. "Unknown class. Estimated weapons capacity exceeds anything in our records," his science officer reported. "Recommend caution." But the Coalition had numbers on their side. They attacked in waves, confident in their advanced technology. Their ships fired quantum disruptors, gravity lances, and phase weapons that could pass through normal matter. The battle unfolded like none before it. Coalition ships employed their sophisticated technologies against the human fleet. Each time they found a weakness, human engineers adapted. Ablative armor reformed after impacts. Shield harmonics shifted to block new weapons, and human tactics followed no patterns the Coalition could predict. 6 hours into the battle, Coalition Commander Trell watched in confusion as human destroyer groups deliberately placed themselves between Coalition weapons and larger human vessels. "They're sacrificing their escorts to draw fire from our capital ships," he observed with shock. "No rational species commits such resources to shield larger vessels." "It's working," his tactical officer replied grimly. "Our weapons are being wasted on their smaller ships while their dreadnoughts target our command vessels." Hour after hour, the battle raged around the wormhole. The Thermopylae took hit after hit but continued fighting. Sections of the massive ship were open to space, but sealed compartments allowed crews to continue operating weapons and systems. 14 hours after the battle began, the Coalition forces broke. Their carefully coordinated attack had dissolved into chaos. Human vessels, despite catastrophic damage, refused to retreat or surrender. Allied Concord ships, inspired by human example, fought with unexpected determination. "We can't break through," Commander Trell reported to Coalition Command. "Request permission to withdraw." When the battle ended, the scene around the Orion wormhole was one of destruction. The Thermopylae remained at its post, though severely damaged. 16 human vessels had been destroyed completely, but they had taken 67 Coalition ships with them. The wormhole remained secure, and evacuation ships were already moving through it, carrying civilians to safety. Admiral June stood on the ruined bridge of the Thermopylae. Around him, crew members worked to repair critical systems. The view screen showed the retreating Coalition fleet. He opened a channel that would reach both his allies and the enemy. "This isn't about superior technology," Admiral June transmitted to all channels. "It's about what we're willing to sacrifice to protect others." The message spread across Concord and Coalition space alike. On thousands of worlds, beings watched recordings of the battle. They saw human ships taking hits meant for allies. They saw crews continuing to fight even as their vessels broke apart. They saw the Thermopylae, scared and burning, still guarding the wormhole when the battle ended. In the following days, 2 coalition species requested peace talks. They had seen enough. Human warships might be frightening in their power, but more frightening was the purpose that drove them. Not conquest, but protection. 3 months later, Ambassador Moon stood again in the Grand Council chamber. The room was quieter now. "The coalition war continues," she told the representatives. "But today, we have shown that humanity doesn't fight for dominance. We fight for those who cannot fight for themselves." The remaining coalition representatives watched from their section. Some looked thoughtful, some looked afraid. All understood that the balance of power had changed forever. Human warships now patrolled the borders, not as conquerors, but as guardians. And at the Orion wormhole, the repaired Thermopylae stood watch, a symbol of what humans were willing to sacrifice in defense of others. Here's the story in simple English. 5 years after the Big War, the museum ship Dauntless floated in space, filled with visitors from many different alien species. The old warship now showed people how the war had changed everything in the galaxy. A guide talked to the visitors about human ship design. He explained how human ships were built to survive, even if parts of them were destroyed. Admiral Han, now older and with gray hair, watched the tour and felt proud. In space above Earth, new spaceships were being built. These ships combined the beautiful technology of the Concorde aliens with human ideas about keeping crews safe. The Joint Fleet had approved a new type of ship called the Concordat class. Han's helper told him about the new ships. 20 would be built at Earth, 15 at Centauri, and 30 more at Concorde facilities. Each ship would have crews from at least 4 different alien species working together. Suddenly, alarms started ringing. Han's communication device showed an urgent message. Strange ships had appeared at the edge of the galaxy. These ships had technologies no one had ever seen before. Within a short time, Han was on the bridge of the HFY Unity, the first of the new Concordat-class battleships. Around him, a huge fleet gathered. Ships from humans and other alien species were ready to fight together. Han spoke to the fleet. He reminded them that humans had taught the galaxy how to build better warships. Now they would show everyone how to use those ships to protect their home. The fleet moved into a perfect formation. They waited, ready to face the unknown threat coming from the darkness beyond known space. Human ships were still important, but now they were part of something bigger. The galaxy held its breath, waiting to see what would happen next.